not Dr. Nicole Price. She has um, the holistic, holistic
Yeah.
approach to it, and then there's the whole WHO holistic. And what you're referring to is how we look at people, our team members, our people in organizations on the holistic approach to it, and that's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is definitely some complexities to that. It's not easy. But why do so many of our leaders and our decision makers in the hiring process, why are they so rigid when it comes to the checkbox items, degree and 5+ years of experience? Not really having a good measurable to that. Now we know if you're an attorney, we know that if you're a certain degree, engineering degree, so like that's just a requirement.
Right.
There's compliance.
Basics. Right.
I'm not even gonna worry about that. But the idea that, for instance, a lot of organizations, if a decision maker comes to me and says, we need to open up this requisition and I need to make sure they have a 4-year degree. They're an admin assistant, right? Yes. Can you explain to me why they need a degree? And in that mind, and this is still the case, you kind of think that maybe that goes away, but it still hasn't. Mm-hmm. We still require degrees, and they're all over job descriptions or job ads, and it says, but we're not looking at what the actual skill is of the individual. And it's so tough for those decision makers to get out of that rigid thought. Why?
Yeah.
Why can they not take a step back and say, we're looking at this as we see with the talent tsunami that's leaving? Mm-hmm. Why can't they see that we have not taken that holistic approach to how we see and work with our teams and hire our people?
I think that's really interesting. It's a great question, and I think there's a couple of different responses and answers to that.
All right.
The one that I've run across the most that I think is the most interesting, and it tends to happen with startup, founders kind of thing. And so they'll come and they'll share some information with me, and they'll say, this is what I need done. This is the task, right? The objective that I need completed, right?
Yeah.
Because that's supposed to be the reason why we hire people, right? Mm-hmm. Is to help us to achieve a goal, right?
Right.
And what's really interesting is they'll lay out this whole litany of needs, right, mm-hmm. that they need accomplished by whomever is going to fulfill the role, mm-hmm. right? And then they'll turn and they'll say, now tell me who fits with me. And I'm just kind of,
I'm the template,
right? And I'm kind of dumbfounded with that. I mean, I understand some mm-hmm. of the reasoning behind it, right? Because I want to be able to, especially if it's like, I'm a standalone founder. It's been me this entire time. Mm-hmm. I feel like Top Gun, by the way, should be going off in the background.
Keep flying over. It's really cool, but we're gonna break out the theme song to Top Gun here.
So,
na 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 na.
I love it. So especially if I'm a single standalone founder, right? Got my startup going. I'm about 3 to 5 years, basically been around for that long. I've put in my dues, if mm-hmm. you will. Had good clients, had bad clients, had the mix, and now it's time for me to be able to go out there and find mm-hmm. who the next person is who's going to help me to really kind of build this out, because that's my goal.
The business model's there.
Yeah,
got the business model.
Yeah, we're down with that.
Yeah.
And so now I want for them to perform at a specific level that I need them to perform at. But I also need for them to get along with me, because I've been doing it all this way so long, and I want it to continue at the same level that I know I can perform at to achieve those. If I've been doing it this long, then that means I must be doing something correct, right? And now I have to impart this with some other person.
Right.
And so I think there's another dynamic here to answer your question even further. I think there's a fear, right? Mm-hmm. There's a fear that, okay, if I do have to hand this over to somebody else, that they're not going to be able to do it as well as I have been able to. Or even more than that, I'm going to have to then hold them accountable, right? And so then there's a fear of this interpersonal piece that I don't completely and totally understand. Well, if you start with an awareness, mm-hmm. It's a lot easier for somebody to say, yeah, I'm not good at that, right? I can, which is also, or should also be another reason why you would hire somebody into a role, right? Is because they are better at doing something than you potentially
They're
could
smarter
be.
than I am.
Right. But again, there's a fear, right? Because if I hire them in, they're smarter than I am. Either they're going to make me look bad in front of my boss, my superior,
partners, whatever.
Exactly. And so there's that aspect that comes into that. And then there's also a fear from a compliance perspective. What kind of legal problems could I get myself into? And so I just don't want to deal with all that. So I'm going to compartmentalize that, or it's even better if, I'm just going to hand that to somebody. And unfortunately, I think many times that does become that HR person. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if the experience level of that HR person who is in that role really, for a majority of new people, especially who are getting into the HR profession, if they've had the background, the experience themselves, so they freak out.
Yeah.
And so everybody's freaking out, but nobody's really helping to get back into alignment again. Nobody's helping to be able to say, okay, so here's the objective that you originally set out with, right, to accomplish. Okay. Do we have the right person with the right strengths in that role, or is this just a guesstimate, on your behalf? It's a gut feeling that you kind of went with because you were getting along with that person during the interview. So that evaluation isn't put up against any kind of true litmus of predictability, right?